So there's no guarantee that this person would have been held in custody even if there wasn't a sanctuary policy. So you can't really blame the sanctuary policy for this event. You also can't blame the sanctuary policy for whatever this particular fellow did. There are dozens of people released every day who are subject to INS holds who don't commit crimes.
The nation finds itself currently awash in a national flood that began when Donald Trump opened this particular immigration spigot with his comments about Mexican illegal immigrants. And despite the immediate hammering of the Donald, there's a slight turn by some to the conclusion that while his words may have been wrong, his intent may have been correct. Drop the hammer then for the Wednesday News Call. She is the shy, demure, and soft-spoken veteran broadcaster, also founder of JaneUnchained.com. Jane Velez-Mitchell. He is the shy, demure, and soft-spoken veteran marketing and image specialist from the M Network in South Florida, Thom Mozloom. Let us all be shy and demure together. Welcome. Good to see you guys again. Thom, I'm going to start with you. Donald Trump may have said something wrong, and everybody is hammering away at him, but he has opened up a national discussion about sanctuary cities that nobody knew what they were before this week, and it would seem to be a logical discussion regarding the immigration issue in this country, yes?
Well, people don't know what they are because they have a short memory. Barack Obama campaigned on the topic of sanctuary cities back in 2012 as part of his outreach to Latin Americans. And this was part of a campaign strategy that included his act on the Dreamers. This has been part of the Obama campaign and the Obama strategy for a long, long time. It is a backbone of why he's sued several states for actually enforcing federal law. So, no, I don't think anybody should be surprised at all that we're talking about sanctuary cities here in 2015. On the other hand, everybody needs to cool down a little bit because it is a political issue. It's a political thing that people are waving around, and it really doesn't have a lot to do with the overarching immigration debate. And that's what we should be focusing on.
All right. Now, the immigration debate itself, Jane, that is something that we are continuing to talk about. This is just, as Thom pointed out properly, another part of it. Now, the constitutionality of sanctuary policies is clear. It is allowed constitutionally. But there are people wondering now, and I think they're right, Jane, as Donald Trump opened up this floodgate here to make us wonder, the criminals that are walking amongst us here, whether they're Mexican or anybody else, who may be able to do harm to our own people.
Let's put it in context, Ed. There are 34 million Mexican Americans. 22 million of them, the vast majority, are U.S. born. There's a smaller percentage who are immigrants and a much smaller percentage of those who are illegal immigrants and a much smaller percentage of those who are engaged in any criminality. You are taking a tiny, tiny fraction of Mexican Americans, and this man is doing a broad brush stroke and insulting 34 million people, and by extension, 50-some million Latinos in general. What we need to do is stop broad brushing, and we do need to focus on that tiny fraction of criminality. This man should not have been let out on the street. He was deported 5 times. He was convicted 7 times. When the immigration officials put them in the hands of the sheriff's department, they should have kept him, and they should have turned him back over to immigration to deport. There is no reason why somebody who's been deported 5 times should be in this country. Instead of insulting all people of Latino origin, let's focus on the tiny fraction of any group that is criminal and prosecute them to the fullest, and if they are here illegally, get them out.
I think we're all agreeing on that, and certainly if the Donald started that conversation, it's at least a conversation worth having. Thom, next up, let's go to you. Jared Fogle is no longer the face of Subway. You are the media guy, and you are the image guy. He gets not arrested. They've suspended the relationship because the feds are looking into a possibility that he's involved in a child pornography issue here. Now, I would guess you would say that Subway did the right thing, but even if he's found completely innocent, can he ever come back?
Well, I think that's sort of a delicate line to talk about. I mean, we have celebrity endorsements all the time, and the real problem with tying your brand to a specific individual is what happens when that individual is entangled in something that's unsavory, as is this case. It happens all the time. It happened to Tiger Woods and people dropped him. It happened to Alex Rodriguez, people dropped him. And it's happening here. Whether the guy's guilty or not is almost irrelevant. The fact that this is an ongoing story forces Subway to do this, and I think Subway has done a very good job of doing it delicately and without being angry or wagging figures in any way. And I so far, so good.
I think the point is now he has not been arrested. Let's wait for that. Let's wait for the next shoe here. Hey, Jane, I got something else for you, though, here, because this comes down to you in New York City here. New Yorkers accused of low-level or nonviolent crimes will not face the prospect of raising bail under a plan that seeks to keep them out of Rikers Island. They're looking at low-option and low-risk suspects. Is this a good idea?
Look, there was a 16-year-old teenager who was accused of stealing a backpack, and he couldn't afford the $3,000 cash bail. He ended up being in Rikers Island for something like 3 years, and he ultimately killed himself. We should not base whether or not somebody should be behind bars based on the amount of money they have. Risk should be the sole criteria, and there are plenty of nonviolent offenders who can get drug treatment. They can be sentenced to go to AA meetings, what have you, as opposed to locking them up and destroying their lives. Allow them to keep their families, allow them to keep their jobs. America has a prison industrial complex. We have more people locked up in this country than any other country in the world, the size of some small Eastern European countries. I think the time has come for us to re-examine. Again, let's focus on the real problem people, the violent criminals, and let's just not lock everybody up because they're too poor to afford a good lawyer.
We started out by saying we would be shy and demure. We have done just that, ladies and gentlemen. We have managed to take all that care of. Jane, Velez-Mitchell, Thom Mozloom, always a pleasure to see you both. Have a great week. We'll talk to you again both real soon. All right, coming up next, the Money Master. You want to talk about panic for a second. What if you're a broker on Wall Street? Everything's cooking. It's the beginning of the day. You start your trading, and they say everything is shut down, and we don't know why. We'll talk about that with the Money Master and a lot more when we come back right here on MidPoint.